welcome to today's jazz guitar video lesson. In today's lesson I'd like to teach you 3 jazz chord types that you should know. So this is partly to celebrate the release of my new ebook, Beginner Jazz Guitar Chords, which I have just released a few days ago. So if you'd like to check that out and find out more about that, there's a link at the bottom of this video to that ebook on my website. It's a PDF and there's 130 printable pages. There's 80 odd audio examples and it's called the Beginner Jazz Guitar Chords or Beginner Jazz Guitar Chords, and that's basically designed to take you from not knowing a single jazz chord to really being quite comfortable and fluent in most comping and chord situations. So if you'd like to go ahead and check that out, then please click the link below to find out more about that. So 3 chord types that every jazz guitarist should know. So I'll tell you what these 3 chord types are and then we'll get more into them as the lesson goes on. So the first chord type is the root on the 6th and 5th string. So jazz chords with the root on the 6th string, the E string, and the 5th string, the A string of the guitar. The second chord type, which every jazz guitarist should know, are called extended chords, and that basically means things like a G13, a C major 9, D minor 9, G flat 9, flat 13. These are all types of extended chords. And lastly, the third type of chord type that every jazz guitarist should know are called drop 2 chords. So the first one, the root with the 6th and the 5th string, I think these are great chords to learn first if you are new to jazz, because they transition pretty well from bar chords, which most guitarists are fluent with really. So, oh, by the way, before we begin, all the tabs and all the music notation for everything that we're going to be talking about, you can get that in my new ebook. So again, if you'd like to follow along with what I'm going to be talking about, all these concepts within that is basically outlining the first 3 chapters to give you an idea. So you can get the PDF printed off and follow along with the tab and the fingerings as we go along through this video. So the first chord type, jazz chords with the root on the 6th and 5th string. So if we take maybe a G, if we think of the key of G, because that's a good key to begin with, and we think of chords with the root on the 6th string, I'm sure most of us are familiar with a G bar chord, so we can play that in 2 positions in G minor. So basically the first type of jazz chords, root on 5th and 6th string, change these so that they're now jazz chords. So in jazz you have 4 main chord types: major 7, dominant 7, minor 7, minor 7 flat 5. The ebook basically gives you 2 ways in which you can play each of these chords. So for G major 7, you can have that version of G major 7 with the root on the 6th string, and then one with the root on the 5th string. Same with dominant 7, minor 7, minor 7 flat 5. So that's basically how you start, and then from there basically is a series of chord progressions which well, there's 2 versions of each chord progression. The first is left intentionally blank, so there are things like autumn leaves, I think, is one of them, and that's for you to have a go at playing these chord progressions using chords with the root on the 6th and 5th string. And then the second variation of the chord progression has the diagrams as to one way that you could play them with the chords on the root and the 6th and 5th strings of the guitar. So I'll give you a quick example of that. So if I were going to play, say, the first 8 bars of Autumn Leaves, just using chords with the root on the 6th and 5th string, it would sound something like this. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So with those chord types, they're going to give you the fundamentals for playing most jazz standards, really. So they're really good chords to know. And there's a few other etudes that I've written out like that to get you familiar with jazz chords on the root on this with the root on the 6th and 5th string of the guitar. So that's the first section of the book. We then go on from that to look at extended chords, and as I mentioned earlier, extended chords are basically taking those a chord in which you take the fundamental chord type like a major 7, and then you add something like a 13 or a 9, and that's classed as an extended chord. And these can be extensions of any of the 4 main chord types which I just discussed. So you could have like a G minor 9, G minor 11. You can do the same on dominant chords, so you could have a G13, a G9, etc. So they are types of extended chords, and in the book every single extended chord for each of these chord types is tabbed out, really. So you want to get that if you want to follow along with everything that I'm talking about. So like with the first chapter, after you've learned the hardcore technique of these chords, there's etudes which demonstrate how you can apply these to repertoire, really. So if I just take the same chord progression as what I was doing a minute ago, Autumn Leaves, I'll come through that this time using extended chords so you can get an idea of the difference in the sound. So actually what I'll do is the first time I'll come through using root with the initial chord types that we looked at, the jazz chords with the root on the 6th and 5th string, and then for the second set of 8 bars I'll use extended chords so you can hear the difference. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Now the extended chords. See on that repeat, I was including a few of the first types of jazz chords that we looked at, jazz chords with the root on the 6th and the 5th string, and that's kind of what the book does. As you go through each section, you develop what you've learned from the previous. Jazz chords with the root on the 6th and 5th string, you then add some extensions to those, and it kind of goes in a progressive manner, really. So that's the second section. Very briefly, summed up to give you an idea. And then the final chord type, which is the third section of the book, the final chord type that every jazz guitarist should know, are drop 2 chords, really. So these are basically, again, going back to those 4 main chord types that we looked at: major 7, dominant 7, minor 7, minor 7 flat 5, and learning how to apply those on the top 4 strings of the guitar. So for a G minor 7, for example, you can learn 4 different ways how to play that on the top 4 strings. For a G major 7, you're going to learn 4 different ways of how you can play that on the top 4 strings, and vice versa, all the different chords. And once you can do that, you're going to then apply these things in 2-5-1s. So you can that's going to give you some nice smooth movement without jumping halfway across the fretboard to find another chord. So drop 2s are really worth getting underneath your fingers. And even if you're just playing over a static chord progression where you've got, say, a couple of bars of G minor rather than just hanging on to one G minor 7 for the dear life, then if you know a few G minor 7th inversions, a few drop 2 chords, that's going to create a bit more movement rather than just hanging on to one chord, really. And I will throw in again a few extended chords in there as well. I accidentally put in a G minor 11 there too. So what I'll do is I'll come through 8 bars of Autumn Leaves, and what I'll do this time is I'll try and use as much drop 2 chords as what I can through this. So here we go. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. was trying to use drop twos exclusively, and then I integrated a few more of the chord types that I've mentioned prior to that as well. So just to give you an idea, obviously when you're comping, realistically you're going to be integrating a few types of jazz chords rather than just using, say, drop twos, extended chords, unless it's purely just for practice to really learn those chords in isolation. So those are the 3 jazz chord types. So why should you learn each one? The first one, with the root on the 6th and 5th string, going to be very useful if you just get a chord chart in front of you and you need to be able to get through it no matter what. Then using these is a really safe bet, really. There's only 2 inversions of each one, and they're pretty easy to find because the root is on the 6th and 5th string of the guitar. So really fundamental, useful chords to have under your fingers. The second chord type is the extended chords. So if you're looking at a lead sheet and you saw something like a D minor 9, if a lead sheet said something like a D minor 9, G13 and a C major 9, you could just play the jazz chords with the root on the 6th and 5th strings and that would sound fine. But if you really want to get the colour of each of those chords, then that's going to give you the options to do that as well. And indeed, some specific chord progressions, they have these extensions are really dependent upon the extension of the chord in progression. So that's going to really give you freedom in being able to play any chord progression to a greater extent than what the first chord types are going to do. And the last chords are drop 2 chords, and that's really basically going to give you more freedom, as I said before. So when you've got one chord, you don't have to stick around one area. You can play a few different inversions to create movement as well. So that is an overview of the first 3 sections of my book, and it's also 3 jazz guitar chord types that every jazz guitarist should know. So I hope you found this video useful and informative. If you have, please like the video, and if you'd like to get more free video lessons, then subscribe to this channel and you'll get notifications when I have new classes available. Thanks very much, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.